entrance. I like it.
Hi, Sharks. My name is Brian Yenny.
And I'm Earl Cole, and we're from Los Angeles, California.
Sharks, imagine an everyday product that fails 7 times per second in the U.S. alone and generates 50 billion pounds of toxic waste every year.
Now imagine that same product was first patented way back in 1847.
1847?
1847. That's so old, the light bulb didn't exist yet. Look, we have put a man on the moon, we've put robots on Mars, but still, this particular product hasn't changed much in over 100 years. You know what it is? That's right, folks. The everyday rubber tire filled with air that still gets flats. And that's why we started the Smart Tire Company, the world's first high-performance, airless tires made of space-age materials using proprietary technology first invented at NASA.
Wow.
We use an advanced material called nitinol. It's a shape memory alloy that's elastic like rubber, yet strong like titanium.
Wow.
Shape memory alloy radio technology, or SMART, will change the way vehicles perform on and off-road.
Smart tires make transportation safer, they're better for the environment, and they're made right here in the USA.
So, Sharks, for $500,000 in exchange for 2.5% equity, who wants to join us in reimagining the wheel and building the next great American tire company, the Smart Tire Company?
That's cool.
That is cool. The question that first comes to my mind is utilizing. So it looks like chainmail. I'm assuming there's more to it than that, but like how much of that material is available, like versus like the rubber that we use for tires? Yes, rubber is terrible for the environment, and apparently it fails a whole heck of a lot, and yet it's, I didn't realize that it was patented that far back in the 1800s. So which is pretty crazy, that the wheel was able to be patented. But anyway, with all that aside, I just curious is like, how do you get that material and like what repercussions that we have by having that material utilized for tires? And what's the odds of you needing to buy, like how often do you have to buy a new tire? Like there's just so many questions I'm looking forward to getting into. But before we get there, I just want to pimp the super entrepreneurship. Go to shopsuperjoe.com and get your super apparel, masterclasses. There's what else is there? There's masterminds you can join over there. There's just a whole my books, the book right behind me. All that's over there at shopsuperjoe.com.
Introduce what you're looking at here, these big shiny tires. So this is actually a spring tire. This was originally designed for missions to Mars, for lunar expeditions. We got some springs in front of you.
What you have right there is some space metal.
Feel free to mash it up. You can get rough with this material.
Tell them about the bike tire.
All right. So this is going to be our actual first commercial product. This is a pure nitinol bicycle tire. It will absolutely, positively never go flat.
Wow.
So you don't actually own this technology. You've developed a tire use with it, right? That's the idea?
Yeah.
Correct.
So have you licensed this from NASA?
Yeah, we licensed this from NASA.
When we talk about nitinol, there really are a handful of people on planet Earth that work in this material. We have exclusivity with the bike tire in the micromobility market, which is our go-to market. And then there's a piece missing here, which is the rubber integration. And so we are patent pending on the integration of nitinol with rubber. To produce any tire on Earth, you're going to need that rubber.
So those that we're seeing there is in the raw form,
yes,
but they're going to have to be covered with rubber.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have exclusivity for the tire use?
That's a good question. We actually have a Space Act agreement with NASA, so they are helping us commercialize this.
But that doesn't answer my question.
So where are you now, right? You had access to this technology. Now you have to turn it into a business.
Right. Yeah.
Tell us about that business.
We have raised $1.3 million so far in crowdfunding.
In crowdfunding?
Equity crowdfunding.
Equity crowdfunding.
And that was with very little effort. And we were kind of testing the waters.
That's not a positive, guys. I'm not a fan of equity crowdfunding, but go ahead.
Well, hold on a second there, Mark, because so what it says, let me blow it up. So equity crowdfunding, when a private company raises capital online from the public in exchange for shares in the company. Now, there is a company that Mr. Wonderful is, I believe, invested in called, where is it at? I have it right here. Called, is it Startup Start Engine. Start Engine is the name of the site, and so you can raise money through that. So this is here you go. Pitch your venture to Kevin O'Leary, win $30,000 cash and 40,000 of in-kind prizes. So that's a thing. I know I don't usually do these layout, these videos like this, but I just find it very interesting. And then here Mark is saying that he's not a fan. I'm kind of curious as to why he's not a fan of it. I'm going to guess because you have too many soups in the kitchen, or chefs in the kitchen at that point is what my guess is. But yeah, that's really interesting. It's very different from, say, going to Kickstarter and say, oh, well, buy the tire now and you'll get it when we ship it. You're literally just raising money in exchange for the shares.
Sure. I think maybe just to set up the context, because we haven't even said why the bike tire, right? So the segment that was really interesting to us was micromobility for a few reasons. One, it's the fastest growing segment.
Yeah, I don't need to hear total addressable market type stuff.
Sure.
Right. We need to know about your company, what it's doing, right? Because you raise this money, you got the opportunity to use this technology, but you have to execute.
Yeah,
it's great to envision.
And
So
who
envision,
are you
execute,
guys?
execute.
Like, I think it'll help answer how you're going to execute if we understand who you are and what's your background.
Okay.
Sure. So I've been a software engineer for 23 years. I've worked for education companies, gaming, was employee number one at a home staging company.
I'm a serial entrepreneur just like Brian,
You're not an astronaut?
All right, I've been exposed. So I have a big business strategy and marketing background. Worked at some of the top media companies in the world. And all of that has been a culmination to where I am now, to where we're able to handle a big task like this. The reason why we got a space act agreement, because we presented the best argument and the best strategy to NASA, to where they trusted us to give us that space act agreement.
You guys keep on going back to that. Okay, we know that, right? At some point, we want to invest in a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we've
So
opened up a
you've got
5,000 square foot laboratory to get things started. So that is the infrastructure for the tire biz. So we're buying equipment, we're hiring people.
To do what?
To do work, to build prototypes.
To make the
continue-
bicycle tire.
Right. In other words,
Yeah,
to
our
bridge
first
the
product
gap
is the
between-
bicycle tire.
Do you get to go to the car tire in your deal?
So how we get to the car tire, a couple of things. There's a reason we're very focused on the rubber integration. Now, yes, there's some big tire companies out there. They have a lot of resources, absolutely competition. If they can't put rubber on a tire, they're not putting it on the
So
road.
you're saying you could corner it and they'd have to pay you a royalty to build their line of big brand tire. Is that the strategy?
Essentially, yeah. That's our IP
You are
fence versus
patenting
big
it,
and small.
right?
So we're patent pending on that.
Okay, how much are they going to cost for me?
We're still optimizing the product, the final product. Like, we're still early stage, we're pre-revenue, but we're optimizing everything.
but are
We
they
wanna
gonna
do
be
this-
So that means that they haven't figured out it's one thing to build the product. Like they don't Brian and Earl don't have the prototype there. They have what it looks like pre-rubber, but they haven't gotten there yet. And by just building the laboratory is great, but that means that they haven't. At least what it sounds like to me is like they haven't gotten to that point where they have that product to be able to figure out how now they're going to mass produce that product. And I mean, again, my bigger question is if there's only a handful of people that have ever gotten to touch this metal, or work with this metal, how are you going to mass produce that? Like, I think that the bicycle tire is a powerful target, right? It's a smaller tire. You're gonna sell probably a ton of them if you can get the price to not be astronomical for a bicycle. They haven't even talked about that because they might not even get to have that I figured out yet as to what the cost is going to be. But again, the mass production part is that's the real big key. So they're in a race, and what I'm wondering is, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but I'm curious about that agreement going back to NASA. Is it really exclusive, or is it exclusive with 3-4 companies that are all in this quote unquote space race to get who's going to be the first to figure out how to make this work? I mean, I remember being a kid and thinking why don't we just make tires out of steel? I mean, we have steel belted tires, but if you've ever seen one of those pop on a big rig truck, it's not fun. and blow off the side of the truck and potentially kill somebody on a highway. It's not a good time at all. So I still have some questions. And then the other question I have is can you make the price cheap enough, especially on the bicycle side, but expensive and like cheap enough for people to afford, but expensive enough for you to make enough margin, because they might not need to buy another tire like ever? Or is there like a game plan for that to, it wears out, the rubber, I guess the rubber would wear out, but could you replace the rubber on it? Now there's the idea. The rubber wears out, cool. Now you have this bare metal tire that you need to like re-rubberize, and can you take it to a rubber shop? Now we're talking about creating industry around that, right? And people that specialize in doing that kind of thing, or building entire shops around it, or getting that special techs into like Tire Nation or whatever, the local tire shops and the big chain supply shops.
5 times the price of a regular tire?
Not 5 times.
Let's focus on one thing, right?
You said, wait. Let me back up.
5 times
pre-revenue, but we're optimizing everything.
But are they going to be 5 times the price of a regular tire?
Not 5 times.
Let's focus on one thing, right?
Not 5 times, but probably like 4 times. So for a normal tire, I mean, an inner tube, I think is like, it's been a little while since I bought one, but I think it was like $20 or something like that for a mountain bike, maybe $30 tops. But 5 times that would be $150. That's a big commitment now. Or 4 times that would be 120. So I don't.
$1,000 for the wheel set.
Oh!
Wait. So are they wheel set as in like 4 tires? I mean, that's you're like talking about like expensive rim prices for tires. But hey, if it never went flat, I mean, it has a use case. Like military use cases and things like that. Off-roading, maybe like extreme off-roading. I don't know. I don't know about everyday car use if that's what they're referring to, that, or wheel set for just 2 bicycle tires. I hope that's not the case. I can't imagine that would be the case.
Buy a bicycle for that.
And there's
No wonder you didn't want to tell us.
Oh.
And lack of wind.
Oh wait, that's a really cool.
$1 million.
Are you talking about 15 to 20 grand for a set? 10 grand? How much is a set?
So when we get to cards, we'd be selling just the tire. So if you imagine this tire right here, this would cost around $700-800 for the tire, which matches up with like a sport, high-end tire. We're just not there yet.
That's a really high-end tire, or a big tire for like a really big SUV tire. That's not terrible, but how on maybe it's the editing here, but if the bicycle is $2,500 for 2 tires, and it's funny that Mark said you could buy a bike for that. Like, yeah, you could buy a lot of bikes for that depending on what kind of bike you're buying. But hey, in a sport situation, like what if if you could replace the rubber on that, like how few F1 and NASCAR tires could you go through? If you could pop on the new ones and then you re-rubberize it and get it back on, maybe not in the same race. So you have maybe 4 or 5, 6 sets of these things, but you're not literally like, I use it and then it's done forever. It's totally worn out. There's definitely use cases for this, but as far as everybody doing that, I also could see commercial bike rentals, maybe like dirt bike and ATV rentals and things. Like if you're actively making money from the vehicles, I mean, I wouldn't even say car rentals, because they get rid of the cars after like 10 to 20,000 miles anyway, so it's not their problem anymore. But unless you could prove that like you have that many tires popping on the sides of roads, that it's like, oh, we could save this money from like paying for AAA for all our cars and tow services and things, then maybe.
And guys, I think the concept is really smart. Tires are a pain in the ass. I mean, nobody wants to have to fill them with air. Nobody wants to come back and find their tires flat. But it's just right now you're too early for me. I'm regretfully out.
Look, you guys had this NASA opportunity. You grabbed it, right? Can't blame any entrepreneur for wanting that. Now you have this big vision that you put up on this equity crowdfunding site, and you sold the big vision. Great. Now you figure get on the Shark Tank, and you're trying to sell the shiny object big vision. You have done nothing to prove to us that you can execute on that big vision. Not one operation comment at all. Not one execution comment at all. So the only comment left is, I'm out.
Oh man, that was their meal ticket there. The science guy. That was their meal ticket. That's that's tough.
I don't agree on your strategy. I agree the technology works. It's intriguing. But the world does not need another tire manufacturing distribution company. They already exist. It's a very mature market. And so at the end of the day, the strategy should be that if you've locked up these rights, why don't you go to a giant tire manufacturer that already has all the distribution and manufacturing facilities and license it to them? Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel, and I really mean reinvent the wheel, by starting manufacturing facilities? I mean, I can't even comprehend how expensive and how long that would take. I'm so frustrated listening to this. I want to no, I shouldn't say that. Anger management, I'm out.
Look, as a car enthusiast, right, you were talking about going into the world of cars. I got interested for a second because I wanted to know, oh man, maybe there's a dope connection here. To his point, well, attaching yourself to a brand that exists, that already has success, and giving that brand another tier, I just feel like it's a smarter route. You didn't do a good job of presenting the business within your business. You gave me some jargon that I didn't understand. I was waiting for the pieces to the puzzle that I could understand. And as an investor, I don't ever want to not know. I didn't know what was going on. It's way too early. It's way too expensive. So I'm going to have to say I'm out.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around how one tire for a car is $800, but two tires for a bicycle using, in theory, a lot less material, I would think, is more like $2,500 for two tires. That doesn't.
Bottom line is, and I think you've heard it 5 different ways, it was very confusing, and it's a shame. So I'll join my pals here and say I'm out.
Good luck, guys.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
sucks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
So I think the Sharks got a little stuck on some of the initial issues they had. And I think if they understood the full business, they would see a lot more here.
We have a waiting list of over 6,000 customers waiting to buy these bike tires. But we couldn't even get that out to tell them. It's like, there's so much we wanted to say, but, it's fine. We know we're still going to raise a lot of money and change the world.
Well, if you got more to say, guys, come on my show here. I will gladly have you on to talk about your Shark Tank experience and all about your business, because I'm genuinely interested, and I'm hoping that since you guys were on Shark Tank, you've been able to figure some more things out, how you're going to make it happen. So, I mean, generally speaking, I like to see faces, but there's a face right there, right? Ride into the future, talking about load-bearing design. I'm curious if that's an actual prototype that he's on, or if that's just a stock photo. I hope that's a prototype. That looks, assuming that's not like a Photoshop job, that looks like it's on a tire, but without the rubber, it probably only is going to work in certain situations. So there's a ton of applications. Yeah, see, like these are the type, like these more commercialized ones are the ones I think, and maybe high-end cars. I would love to see it on big rig trucks where you don't have the steel belt flying off and hitting people. But I mean, who knows? Maybe my question is when these inevitably hit something in the road that makes it shear off, like, is it going to be, instead of being like one big steel belt ripping off, is it like a grenade going off with lots of shrapnel everywhere? That's my question from the safety concern, but hopefully they've worked at least some of that out. But I think it's awesome. Let's check out their social media while we're here. Twitter, 304 followers, and there you go. Welcome to the Tank Partner. Retweeting, love seeing Kevin Hart here. Let's see, 875 followers on Instagram. That's pretty cool to see. So they got some. Definitely got some engagement going on there. So I would let's see, 399 followers here. It's great, it's tough because when you are still like a product, you're not, you're barely a company, but trying to drum up business and stuff can be a little tough because you don't have like, what's the call to action? Like we're coming, they're gonna get it. That's the difficult part. But what's not difficult? Leaving comments down below, like Justin, who said, I started for the entertainment but stayed for the advice. Forever self-employed. Ding ding. I appreciate you, Justin, watching, sticking around, listening to the show, and learning along with us. If you're not learning, you're not growing, and if you're not growing, then you are dying. But what I'm dying is to see you over here in one of these videos. Take care.